Good morning, everyone from India. I'm Nikita, and I will be presenting on the topic challenges and food production on Mars. This work is the result of Mission 44 of Habitat Mate. Um, PPT seems to be stuck. Okay, here we go. Habitat Mate is a Mars analog research station based in Brazil. You can see some of the pictures from there. Moving on. So how do we feed astronauts on a long-term mission to Mars? Of course, carrying food from Earth for a long-term mission doesn't make any sense. So we are left with two other options. One is to resupply from Earth, that is pre-packaged food, and the other one is to grow food on Mars. So the technologies that exist for pre-packaged food is appropriate for 6 or 12 months, and for supplying to low Earth orbits such as to the ISS, and not beyond that. Longer missions to Mars will require technologies to be developed so that the crew is more self-sufficient and less dependent on resupply missions. Also, the current shelf life of these pre-packaged food technologies is only 1.5 years. It also presents additional issues of mass, volume, waste, and disposal. Plus, resupply line is slow and costly, and it cannot be relied upon. Hence, uh, growing food locally on Mars is a more viable path. So the simple process of digging up earth, planting seeds, and nurturing their development into crops with the help of soil, water, and sunlight, it has been a building block of human civilization. However, this simple act on Earth is anything but simple on the red planet. Uh, so the goal of agriculture on Mars is to grow fresh food in a safe and sustainable way. So that would, of course, require good knowledge of Martian atmosphere and environmental conditions. So let's take a look at them. So soil. Can plants be grown in Martian soil? So the composition of Martian soil, it has been uh, studied to be uniform or nearly uniform through the planetary surface. And this could be uh, due to years of storms carrying and mixing the surface dust. As we can see on the screen, most of the plant nutrients that plants require are available in Martian regolith, which is Martian regolith as in Martian soil. But the ease with which plants can use them in the form they are present in the Martian soil, that is not well known. Martian regolith can also play host to potentially growth limiting things such as salinity and perchlorates, which are toxic. Uh, so we can make certain assumptions on this at this time, but we can't really say for sure if plants can be grown in Martian regolith without more research. Sunlight. Sunlight is of critical importance because plants depend on it for energy and survival. Mm, So depending upon the location of the day, the thickness of the atmosphere, uh, sunlight on Mars is sunlight on Mars varies. Um, you can see on the screen the solar constant of Earth and the solar constant for Mars, and also uh, Mars dust storms are a well-known phenomena. So on a particularly dusty day, the sunlight can be blocked for long periods of time, and the solar constant decreases. Uh, you can also see the minimum solar constant requirement of plants. Uh, so in case of a dust storm, that is not a good news. Coming to temperature, Mars' atmosphere is thinner than that of Earth's, and because of that, Mars can't retain any heat energy. It cools much faster. Um, we can see the average temperature and diurnal temperature, which is the variation during the day, and also the plant growth requirement temperature. So the average temperature on Mars is much less than what plants require. Uh, Radiation is, uh, it is well known that Mars is continuously bombarded with harmful radiation. The main contributors to this is the cosmic radiation and the galactic cosmic radiation and solar energetic particles. We can see the radiation limits on humans as well as certain common plants. So to conclude, Martian environmental conditions make it necessary for crops to be grown in controlled systems, as in systems where we can control the environment of plants, because the environment of Mars is too harsh for plants. So some plant growth systems have been deployed in the low Earth orbit for the last 40 to 50 years on various platforms. Uh, you can see that on the screen. To study the effects of microgravity on plant physiology and other things, such as to determine if plant growth, development, and reproduction is same as it is on Earth. So these plant growth systems are experiments, and they end when the experiment is completed. Uh, so, uh, so this is okay as long as we are experimenting, but for long-term sustainable Mars missions, we need controlled environment food productions in greenhouses. So these are some more pictures from plant growth systems that have been deployed. Coming to greenhouses. So some of the functionalities of the greenhouse is obviously to produce food that meets human requirements for nutrition and to provide environment and cultural requirements to produce crop. So this would include the atmosphere, temperature, composition, the lighting, the growth area, and also to provide post-harvest processing materials, handling and storage of harvested products. Greenhouses can also be utilized to recover from other life support systems, such as carbon dioxide, wastewater, and solid wastes. So greenhouse could, one of its functionality could also be to provide non-food products to other support systems for utilization, further processing or disposal, including oxygen, transpired water, heat, and other waste products and inedible biomass. Some of the other functionalities is in the area of education, particularly on how to save food, how to avoid food wastage. And another function that it can serve is that the astronauts get to spend some time in nature. So let us look at some of the things that we need to keep in mind about greenhouses, some considerations and trade-offs. First one is that the greenhouse should be a closed loop system. So we want perfect recycling of water, nutrients, gases, and plant parts that are consumed, and other wastes. Nothing is allowed to get lost. We want everything in recirculation. This is necessary because we need to take care of the waste we produce. We cannot just throw it out. Also, since resources are limited, everything needs to be recycled and reused. The surface of the greenhouse can be opaque, transparent, or translucent. So a question arises, why would we ever construct an opaque greenhouse since we need sunlight for plants? So one example of opaque greenhouse is an underground greenhouse. So underground to protect against the radiation on Mars. In case of transparent or translucent surfaces, ice or water is proposed to be used for radiation shielding. So light is of critical importance in a greenhouse. So natural lighting can be used in two ways. Either direct sunlight through the surface or through solar collection and distribution systems. So what are some of the advantages of using natural sunlight? You don't need any additional power and you don't need any additional mass. But as we have seen, sunlight on Mars is not very reliable. So that is one of the disadvantages of using natural light. The next one is solar light collection and distribution system. An advantage of this is also that you don't need power. Another advantage is the ease of radiation shielding. I mean, we can have any sort of surface and radiation won't be a concern. Some of the disadvantages of it is we are not really sure how efficient it is. It hasn't been tested much. artificial lighting. Okay, so advantage of artificial lighting is we can get as much lighting as we need. We can have it for 24 hours according to our needs. Lighting intensity could also be adjusted. The spectrum can be adjusted to plant needs. Also, radiation is not really a concern here. High radiation protection is possible here. Some of the disadvantages of it would be high mass for lamps and also high power requirement. Also, it could lead to over heating of the greenhouse. So, some method of heat rejection would be required. Hybrid lighting would be a combination of all of these. So if we want to know what is the amount of edible plant mass that is produced, it can be calculated through this formula. PAR is the photosynthetic active radiation, which is basically can be said to be sunlight. Next would be the growth area of the greenhouse. So, the growth area can be calculated using this formula. Next consideration is selection of crops. So the crops that we select for production, it should be feasible to produce them. An example could be, we can take the harvest cycle of crops. So some crops would mature earlier than others, and some may require over several months. So this will require careful crop planning so that the system can generate a balanced diet every day of the operation, while minimizing the, we can say, storage requirements. So the crops should be able to meet the nutritional requirements of the group, and they should also be palatable. Growth mediums. So we can consider a number of growth mediums. First one is soil brought from earth. So for obvious reasons, it is not a good option, such as transportation costs, high mass, and other problems could be microbial contamination and difficulties in handling it. Next one is soil from Mars. We have already discussed that Martian soil has not been analyzed as sufficiently as it should be, and we cannot decide if it is a viable option. So plants do not necessarily need a solid root media, and that is what the next three options make use of. Aquaponics. So aquaponic uses fishes in a symbiotic combination in which plants are fed the fish discharge or waste, and in return, the plants clean the water that goes back into the fish. Aeroponic systems, nutrient solution is applied to the roots of the plant by sprayers, and it is done in the form of fog. In hydroponic systems, plants are grown with their roots in an aerated, circulating nutrient solution, and this nutrient solution provides plants all that they need. Also, in case of aeroponics, it's similar. The nutrient solution provides plants all the nutrients, oxygen, and water that they need. So, according to a study conducted by a group of researchers from MIT, hydroponics was concluded to be a really good option really good option, followed by aeroponics and aquaponics. This is a picture of a fully functioning deep water culture aquaponics system at Habitat Mate. Moving on. Other consideration would be the operation and maintenance of the greenhouse. So the plants have to be seeded, serviced, and harvested. Harvesting can either be done by crew members or it can be automated. To minimize crew work, automation can be implemented. Another thing would be the removal of dust from the surface of greenhouse. In situ resource utilization, regular can be used for radiation protection. Water is obviously needed for plant growth. It can be extracted from the atmosphere or polar ice caps or ice deposits. Various other gases such as carbon dioxide is found in abundant quantity on Mars. It is an essential gas for photosynthesis and it can be extracted from the atmosphere. Other gases such as nitrogen and carbon a use for them could be in pressurizing or maintaining the pressure of the greenhouse. And these can also be extracted from the local atmosphere. Oxygen is an extremely important, so it is obviously required for respiration, breathing. It can be extracted through electrolysis of water or from the atmosphere. So the plants need to be provided the right atmosphere that they need to grow and thrive and survive. So temperature is of very high importance. So experiments have shown that as temperature increases around 25 degrees Celsius, growth rates also increases, but the yields reduce. And on the other hand, cool temperatures around 20 degrees Celsius tend to increase yields but slow down growth rates. So we need to find a balance, and the temperature should be optimized for each phase of the life cycle of the crops. Humidity, high humidity can result in a low cooling capacity and it might increase the overall temperature of the greenhouse and also the temperature of the leaves of the crops. Also, if the humidity is too high, this could lead to corrosion and growth of various types of microorganisms, which would be very harmful for our crops. So adequate level of humidity needs to be maintained in the greenhouse. Another consideration is food acceptability. Uh, Studies suggest that in addition to meeting the physical requirements, familiar and acceptable food is important to the psychological well-being of uh, astronauts during long duration missions. Um, so a large variety of food is recommended to provide the crew choices and to avoid menu fatigue. Um, Also, if uh, uh, usability is also one of the aspects of food acceptability. So if the food is difficult to prepare or eat, then the overall acceptability of the food is reduced. So that's not a good thing, and it also needs to be considered. Uh, in terms of sensory acceptability, it includes the appearance of food, flavor, texture, and also aroma, which are known to have an effect on food acceptability. Next is equipments. So some of the equipments that will be required for processing the crops are these. So these equipments would need to work in the Martian greenhouse environment. So is also a, that is also a challenge for food systems in space. Some of the other challenges or possible disadvantages of the greenhouse can be that it requires crew time and for operation and maintenance. Since uh, such a system hasn't been tested, so we do not know how reliable it is. Uh, there haven't been done sufficient tests on plants concerning the atmosphere and gravity requirements. Uh, Also, there are high chances of foodborne illness due to contamination by pests and microbes, which may lead to food scarcity. Also, so for because of these safety procedures and testing methods must be in place. Uh, all that being said, there is a huge advantage and potential of these technologies developed for Martian greenhouses to be applied here on Earth. By gaining more insights from the research into the minimal requirements of a functioning greenhouse system, we can learn more about our agriculture ecosystems on Earth, particularly those in arid environments. Also, the health benefits of spending time with nature can be studied. Uh, Such learnings are would be important to developing countries such as Brazil and India and also other countries. And these also directly tie to the United Nations Sustainable Development goals of reducing poverty, reducing hunger, promoting good health and well-being, and responsible consumption and production. Here are some more pictures from the food systems at Habitat Mate. Uh, Thank you for listening.
All right, thank you, Nikita. I don't think we're going to have time for questions over the chat because we are out of time, but we have provided, Julio has provided your email, so look out for some questions there.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your presentation.